All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the work of Terence Kok Wai Chuen.
Oh, yeah. This will be good.
He's got over 20 years of experience in military strategy and digital transformation. And in a recent interview, he was talking about his approach to counterterrorism. Especially as our world relies more and more on technology.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff, blending those two worlds. It's not just about boots on the ground anymore.
Right.
Chuen's talking about using AI in the Internet of Things.
IoT.
Yeah, IoT, to predict and prevent threats.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? I mean, what does this fusion of digital and physical security look like in the real world?
Right. You can kind of think about it like a city wired with sensors, and all these sensors are constantly feeding data into an AI system.
Oh, wow.
And that AI is analyzing and predicting potential threats in real time.
So it's like a constant monitoring and analysis.
Exactly. And Chuen calls this a holistic system.
Holistic?
Yeah. And what it does is it moves us from a reactive security posture to a proactive one.
Wow, that's a big shift.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, how does someone even develop an approach like that?
Well, he spent a lot of his career leading teams that developed complex AI systems and designed city-level security architectures. So it seems like his military background really had a big influence.
Yeah.
Taught him to anticipate threats and stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, even with all these advancements, I imagine there are still gaps.
Of course.
I mean, what vulnerabilities does he identify?
Well, he specifically points to vulnerabilities that are inherent in AI systems.
Okay.
Things like prompt injection attacks, insecure output handling, and training data poisoning.
And these are all serious vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. And that's what's so interesting here is he doesn't see these as just theoretical problems.
Yeah.
He argues that they have real-world consequences for security.
Okay, so then how do we mitigate those risks? What can be done?
Well, Chuen really emphasizes the importance of certifications.
Okay.
Specifically mentioning the Certified Counter-Terrorism Practitioner designation.
CCTP.
Yeah, the CCTP. And it seems like these certifications were really key in shaping his approach by kind of pushing him to develop more comprehensive security architectures.
And what would those look like? What would one of those be?
Well, they really focus on data.
Wait, so back up for a second. How does a certification change the way someone approaches security?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like, what tangible difference does it make?
Yeah, well, for Chuen, the certifications seem to have reinforced this data-centric security approach.
Data-centric?
Yeah, so it's not just about reacting to incidents, but using data to predict and prevent them. And, he talks about this fascinating smart city initiative in Saudi Arabia that really embodies his approach.
Saudi Arabia. A smart city using AI for counterterrorism.
Yeah.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. Can you give me some more details about this?
Sure. So this project used AI to analyze data from a bunch of different viruses.
Like what?
Things like IoT sensors, social media feeds, even intelligence databases.
Wow.
And the system was able to detect patterns and anomalies that could help predict potential security threats.
So they were using AI to connect the dots, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, and identify potential problems before they could escalate. And the cool thing is, it wasn't just theoretical. This project actually had some really impressive results.
Like what?
Well, the authorities were able to use those insights to actually intervene and prevent multiple planned attacks.
Wow. So they're not just reacting to incidents. They're using data to get ahead of the game.
Exactly.
That's incredible. But how does this all tie back to the certifications that Chuen mentioned?
Right.
Did they play a direct role in this project's success?
He doesn't explicitly say that, but it's clear that his focus on data-centric security, which is something that's emphasized in those certifications, is really at the core of this project.
Yeah.
It reinforces the idea that these certifications aren't just about acquiring knowledge. They're about changing the way security professionals think and operate.
So data is key. But what about the human element?
Right.
Where do people fit into all of this?
That's another area where Chuen's approach is really interesting. He doesn't see technology as a replacement for human intelligence. He really emphasizes the importance of collaboration, of getting everyone on the same page.
So like who?
From law enforcement to policymakers to tech developers.
So it's about creating a system where technology enhances human capabilities.
Exactly.
Not replaces them.
Right. It's about breaking down silos and fostering a culture of shared responsibility.
And that makes sense because you need everyone working together.
Yeah, for sure.
But Chuen also talks about the importance of foresight, right?
Yeah.
Of anticipating future threats and vulnerabilities.
That's right.
But how do you anticipate something that hasn't happened yet?
Well, he argues that we need to be constantly thinking about the future, thinking about what new technologies are being developed, what new vulnerabilities might emerge.
So it's like a constant process of looking ahead.
Yeah, it requires imagination, critical thinking, and a willingness to challenge assumptions.
Makes sense, because if you're only looking in the rearview mirror, you're bound to crash.
Exactly.
It sounds like Chuen is advocating for a fundamental shift in how we approach security.
I think so.
A move away from reactive measures toward a more proactive and predictive model.
Absolutely. He's basically saying that the old playbook won't cut it in today's world.
Yeah.
We need to be smarter, more agile, more forward-thinking.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, he talks about the need to integrate security into urban planning from the ground up.
From the ground up?
Yeah, and he mentions that this is something that's often neglected.
Why is that?
Well, as our cities become smarter and more connected,
Right.
it's crucial to consider security from the very beginning. You know, we need to design our infrastructure and systems with security in mind.
Got it.
Not just add it on as an afterthought.
So instead of treating security as a bolt-on extra,
Yeah.
it needs to be baked into the DNA of our cities.
Exactly. It's about a holistic approach, integrating security into the very fabric of our urban environments.
It makes you think about all the different aspects that need to be considered.
For sure. And you know, this reminds me of something else Chuen mentioned.
Okay.
The impact his certifications have had on his career.
You mean how the CCTP opened doors for him?
Yeah, exactly. He talks about how clients now see him as a real expert in counterterrorism.
Interesting.
And are more likely to seek his advice on complex security projects.
Especially the ones involving AI and IoT, I imagine.
Right. It seems those credentials really serve as a signal to the industry that he possesses a deep understanding of this evolving field.
So it's not just about having the knowledge, it's about having the credentials to back it up.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
It makes you wonder how much weight we place on certifications in today's world.
That's a good question.
I mean, do they truly reflect expertise, or are they just a box to be ticked?
That's something to think about for sure as we evaluate the future of security and the role certifications will play.
Yeah.
But going back to Chuen, it's clear that his expertise extends beyond those credentials.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of not just understanding the technology,
Right.
but also its implications of both positive and negative.
So it's not just about it's also about the why and the what if. Exactly. It sounds like he's calling for a more thoughtful and nuanced approach to security in the digital age.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
So it sounds like he's advocating for a more holistic view of security.
Yeah.
One that considers not just the technology, but also the human and the social and the ethical dimensions.
Absolutely. It's not just about building walls and deploying algorithms.
Right.
It's about understanding the complexities of the world we live in and developing strategies that are both effective and responsible.
And that's a tough balance to strike, I imagine.
Yeah, it is.
This whole conversation has really highlighted how much the world of counterterrorism is evolving.
For sure, it's changing so fast.
What are your thoughts on what the future holds for this field?
Well, I think we're going to see even more sophisticated uses of AI and machine learning and data analytics. The ability to collect and analyze vast amounts of data that's really going to continue to shape how we approach security.
And what about the human element?
Yeah.
How do you see that evolving alongside these technological advancements?
I think the role of human intelligence will remain critical. Technology can provide us with incredible insights and automate certain tasks.
Right.
But ultimately, it's humans who make the decisions.
Right.
Humans who analyze the data and take action.
So it's about finding the right balance between human expertise and technological capabilities.
Exactly. It's not about replacing humans with machines, but about augmenting human intelligence.
Okay.
And empowering us to make better decisions.
So really using technology as a tool.
Yeah, as a tool to help us, not to replace us.
His work really seems to embody this idea of finding that balance.
I think so.
Of leveraging technology while recognizing the importance of human insight and those ethical considerations.
Absolutely. He's a real pioneer in this field.
Yeah, he's really pushing the boundaries and challenging us to think differently about how we approach security.
Yeah, and that's what we need.
It's been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
It has been.
And I want to thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.